You did.
Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute everybody. Celia, do you know how to unmute yourself? Okay, I'm just going to mute everyone.
Yes, yes,
and then you just unmute yourself so that you can talk. Hi, everybody. It's nice to see some faces that I haven't seen, in almost a year, like Richard. Others, I think Peter, I see you there. I was overhearing that there are people here from Canada, from Florida, from La Jolla, obviously from London or England at least, Alison, and then all over Cape Town, Johannesburg, other places. So welcome. This is being recorded. It will be shared on YouTube. This is part 2 of the Recollection series, honoring people who stand for either Jewish bravery, achievement, community service, either past or present. I've asked my next door neighbors somewhat across the road, Celia and Gerald Musican, to share with us some of their memories and experiences. I know that Celia immediately suggested she wanted to talk about Bertie Stern, who started the Mosque Theater, as well as Celia's very, very involved in the arts. I'll let you talk about that. And it seems like we've got some descendants here as well as Gerald said he's going to do a few different people that came in and of his life. They want it to be a little bit more spontaneous. So if anybody has any comments at any point, please just unmute yourself and either ask a question or say a comment or remember a story. There will be those opportunities at the end of their talk as well. And thank you very much for being here, Celia and Gerald.
Thank you.
And I hope that this is one of many of the future, but all in good health. So Celia, on that note, I'm going to allow you to take over. I'm just going to make you the spotlight for everyone. So go ahead.
Gosh, I can see my wrinkles. I didn't know I had them. Wow. I think I'll sit back. Okay, nice to see everybody, and especially the Stern family. Wow, it's lovely to see you all. I hope you're all well, and thank you so much for being here. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, I just want to, before Celia starts, she wants to read something off that will actually set the tone going. I just want to sort of mention one little thing, which is almost like a catalyst. Jeremy Isaacs, who produced the World at War series, which was running for quite a while. And he wrote into the newspapers, into the Argus, that all roads lead to Musenburg. And because all roads lead to Musenburg, Musenburg is the center of the universe. And to say that, I don't think you can get a more sort of sort of thing to make it sort of real than something like that. So if Celia can read that, because I think that sort of covers quite a range, and I can interrupt every now and then if I want to add, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is called Memories of Musenburg. And Memories of Musenburg means something different to each one of us. Those genuine Musenburgers who were fortunate to breathe that healthy luft growing up in the village, the Cape Townians, to whom every Sunday, all summer long, the golden sands of Musenburg beckoned, the Varleys and those from other far-flung places, for whom Musenburg was the ultimate holiday destination on which they set their sights year after year. We have so many different recollections, yet we share that bond that unites us all in our love for that wonderful place of our childhood, our Camelot, our Musenburg. There we laughed and played in the sea and met friends and enjoyed, above all, those halcyon days when we were free to be young and so happy. At some time or other, each one of us has passed through the ritual of growing up and shared that special magic. That's Musenburg. Everybody agree with that? Okay. Thank you, Alice. Okay, so continue. Okay. Well, as
I'll continue sort of.
Okay, you do. Okay.
Growing up in Musenburg is almost like growing up in a little paradise. School almost became a non-entity. You go down to the beach, which is the beach virtually. The beach stretches virtually to right down the coastline. But Musenburg, that snow pit, which is like, you grow up there, and there's whether you're going to play beach bats or whether they're going to play bok bok or whether they're going to play touch rugby, whatever it is, the occasion is always there to go down to the beach. So school doesn't become an issue anymore. So how one can grow up in the, and now I'm still in Musenburg. So I think I've got almost like a special code of almost like a badge of honor to say that I grew up there and I'm still there. You know what I mean? Obviously, there was times in between when I sort of had to travel around a little bit just to sort of show that I am sort of human. But all right, Celia, if you want to sort of, and I'll interject every now and then, even although it might seem odd, but it'll be, if you don't mind me sort of interrupting now and then. Thank you.
Okay, well, a very brief bit about who I am. Some of you know me, some of you don't, some of you didn't know me many years ago. I was actually brought up in Benoni, and although so was Charlene Theron and Charlize, whatever her name is, Woodstock, I didn't get the Oscars, I didn't get anything, but I did share Benoni with them. And I was there for my first 15 years of my life and then emigrated to Cape Town. Some of the things that led me to wonder why I continued with theatre and drama are very amazing. When I was about 9 years old, I was in a show at the Benoni City Hall. There were 900 to 1,000 people in the audience. Can you believe that? I was 9. I was a rat in the Pied Piper of Hamelin. I was one of 50 rats, okay? All of us were dressed identically with the ears and the tail and the little what's it. And we all went onto the stage. And my mother, may she rest in peace, stood up in the audience of 900 to 1,000 people and said, "Siliki, here I am, Mama, your mummy's here, hello." And I was so humiliated. I actually stopped, and 49 other rats stopped behind me, and it was like skittles. We all went down. My tail came off. I had to exit that stage with a tail in my hand. So the reason I'm telling you this is that should have put me off theatre for life. And I tried to, take it out of my mind. But that was just a little bit of light relief. I just needed to tell you that. And then I came to Cape Town and I had a number of different people, men, boys, that were my boyfriends over time. And then I met this man who phoned me one day and said, "I'd like to take you out." And I said, "Who are you?" And he told me, and I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "Musenburg." And my mother had warned me. She said, "Celia, you can go out with guys anywhere in the world, but don't touch the Musenburg boys. They are naughty. Don't touch them." Well, I didn't often listen to my mother, especially when she waved at me as I was a rat. And I met Gerald and we got married and we settled eventually in Musenburg. And I've been happy here ever since. So that's my background to Musenburg. The person I want to talk about is Bertie Stern. And I'm so happy that Peter and Richard and I think Jean Shoshana is also here. I think you made it. That's amazing. Fantastic that you're all here. And Bertie, Shoshana will bear me out when I say Bertie was my theatrical father. I've said that all along. From the minute I met him, he has been like my theatre father. None of my family were that into theatre. And when I met Bertie, we were very formal in those days. And I went to him and I said, "Mr. Stern, I want to act on your stage." And he looked me up and down and he said, "Miss Shapira, you can't do that." So I said, "But why?" And I was almost in tears. He said, "Nobody just gets onto the stage in my theatre and acts. You've got to work backstage. You've got to do painting of the set. You've got to be an assistant stage man." I didn't know what he was talking about. I only knew from acting. So I had to listen to him. And the first thing he made me do was be an ASM. And I didn't know what that was. An ASM.
Assistant stage manager.
Thank you. Who said that?
Me, Peter.
Who's me?
Peter.
Well, Peter, there you go. So you were the theatrical brother that I didn't have. So there you go. Well, thank you for telling me now. I did gradually learn that when I started directing, but I was thrown into the deep end, and I must admit I did love it. And eventually he put me on the stage. Now, Bertie was a man that was a philanthropist. He was involved in everything and anything. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bertie did stand for council, didn't he? With Emil Reeves. Am I right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, that's what I remember. So from local politics to scouts, the scouts, heading the scouts, the Jewish scouts in Musenburg, being the gubber of the shul for many years in Musenburg, and founding his theatre. Now, that's what I want to tell you about. A lot of you don't know about this, I think. Bertie was a worried man because he needed a theatre, because people were more and more interested in community theatre, or the anglicized word amdram, which I don't really like. But there were many people who wanted to be on stage, and he knew many people. And he was looking around, and one day he was walking along the main road in Musenburg, and a friend or family member said to him, "Why don't you buy this?" And it was an old, disused bowling alley. Shocking condition, shocking. And he said, "How can I turn that into a theatre?" Never, ever. He said, "You will be able to." Long story short, in 1959, that theatre, the Mosque Theater, was opened. I wasn't there, but I saw photographs. The people were dressed to the hilt. It was like a momentous occasion in Musenburg. And people like Percy Siv, Athol Fugard, a lot of you will remember these people, Yvonne Bryceland, Patrick Maynard, etc., they all performed on that stage. And Athol Fugard himself with Yvonne Bryceland were in a show called People Are Living There, which subsequently was shown many years later by one of the dramatic societies, and was very special to see that show again. And Bertie and Celia used to book row C, 1 and 2, and heaven help anybody who sat on those seats. They were the prime seats in the house, and we always knew it was an amazing feeling to A, perform when they were in the audience, or B, just sit in the audience with them. I have a lot of connection with Bertie. He used to collect photos and captions and programs from every single show at the Masque. And when I eventually got to know him better, I was put in charge of gathering those. And he wasn't impressed if I didn't find a program. He wanted everything. And there were times when I went to his house and we went through the scrapbooks. Those were my best times. I loved that. And we looked through the scrapbook together, and he asked me to identify some of the shows. And most of them I did, because it was well into the time when I was involved with the theatre. Time went by, and we formed a dramatic society called MADS, which is Musenburg Amateur Dramatic Society. And who better to be our president but Bertie? It was a Musenburg society, and Bertie was Musenburg, and we had the best president out of all the societies, because he was on our side all the time. And yeah, I really, really, really loved Bertie so much. And without him, many people would not have got where they are in the theatre world. And I'm talking professional people. People are now international stars, people who are no longer with us. But because of Bertie and that theatre, their paths were set all the way through. And I can say that I've got a little company now called Circle Productions, and I can say that I've really gone the full circle thanks to Bertie. And just like he gave a platform to people that only did theatre as a hobby and had no other place to get their confidence and learn to direct and get further and further. If Bertie hadn't been there and the Masque hadn't been there, we wouldn't have done all this. Yeah, there was something I wanted to say as I was talking about that. Gerald, maybe you should interject, because I've lost my...
Yeah.
I can interject for 1 second.
Yes.
Talking about Bertie and presidents, I saw at the shul, he was also a president of the shul.
Right.
So he was a double president. He had a double term in many different facilities.
That's true.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Okay.
Gerald.
I can also interject. When I was in matric, I was a stage manager.
I believe it.
Yeah. So it shows you this wouldn't have happened had I not done that.
Anything else you want to say? Not at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then we had you spoke about bravery, Ron. I mean, bravery, I asked for a definition of the word in your mind. And bravery is like anything, really. You can be brave, getting up in the morning. Courage.
True.
You can be
Anything
brave.
that inspires others, I would say.
Yes. And even if you taste a new food that you've always put off, like Floyman Simmers, I didn't want to eat that because of the food and stuff. But once I ate it, I was hooked. It's bravery. I didn't want. So bravery is a big thing. But I think one of the bravest things, and this applies to everybody, and maybe I should say especially Richard Stern, maybe. I was working in a tourist information office, and I got a call to say, Celia, the Mosque Theater is on fire. And, if it wasn't December, I would have thought it was November, October, actually, the 13th. If it wasn't that, I would have thought it was an April Fool joke, because how can the mosque be on fire? I literally ran up to the main road, and it was the most terrible sight. Already, a whole pile of trustees and members of the committee were there crying. Everybody was crying. And this place was burning to the ground. Richard, you can bear me out if I've got this right, Richard. You were in Cape Town at that time, and you happened to drive past, didn't you? Am I right? Yes, he's nodding. You probably muted. Okay, he's nodding. And yes, he drove past, and nearby, I think it was on the Flay side, and said, gosh, that fire looks pretty close to my dad's theatre. And when he came there, it was unbelievable that Richard happened to be in Cape Town, in Musenburg, on the day of that fire. Horrible shock for you, Rich. Whoa. Anyway, we were there, a whole lot of us, my friends were all there, and ETV, I think it was, they were very new. They were a fledgling radio. ETV was television, TV program. And literally, I felt a microphone being shoved down my throat. Literally, So what have you got to say about it? How do you feel? Now, the theatre's burning to the ground. How must I feel? Happy? So I just said to them, I feel as though my best friend has died. That's exactly how I felt. I was crying. So they said, so what are you going to do about it? I happened to be acting chairman, by the way. That's why they interviewed me. Acting. The other one was lucky. He was in England. He didn't have to. Anyway, so I said, I think we'll build it again. We will get it back. I had no idea how. So it was that, I think, maybe, not that I want to pat myself on the back, but I think that was either bravery or stupid, because I didn't know how. But then somebody came running across the road and said, go into the doctor's room, they're recording. How many of you know Cape Talk radio station? It was the first day, the inception of Cape Talk radio, and they wanted to interview me. So crying, sobbing, all that. And Martin Bailey interviewed me. And when I went back to the office where I was working, the bureau, I got a call. And the call was from the secretary of Joan St. Ledger Lindbergh, who lived in Musenburg and had the St. Ledger Lindbergh Arts Foundation. And she had a bit of a speech impediment, and I didn't really understand what she was saying. But basically, when the secretary came on the phone, she said, I'm in for R1 million. And I thought I was dreaming. So that was bravery on her part. But she said, on condition that we raised the rest. So whatever the rest was, I think it was 450,000 Rand. And in those days, that was a lot of money to raise, just a few voluntary people. She will give us R1 million. Anyway, it took us 2 years, but we raised it. We actually got the money. I put that on silent, I promise you. Sorry, I actually
Maybe it's
turned.
someone with a donation. Maybe someone's calling you
Ah,
to
maybe they're
donate.
calling in to say we've got another 1 million. Okay, but they've
Yeah,
gone now.
exactly.
Too late. Anyway, so that was it. We'd had fundraisers. We did so much. The community rallied round. There was a lady called Mrs. I don't know, Margaret somebody, Mrs. Miller. That's right. Margaret Miller made marmalade. We called it Mrs. Miller's Marmalade, which she sold for R6 a bottle. She never charged us for ingredients. She carried on making that for 2 years. Out of her own, she wasn't a wealthy lady, but she loved the Masque. And those kind of, generosities were unbelievable. Obviously, the Stern family were incredibly generous. We got our theatre back. We got it back, and it was beautiful. And I know Bertie would have been extremely proud had he seen his theatre alive again. So that was the Masque. I landed up working there as marketing manager for 13 years. And then, quite frankly, I'd had enough. I was morning, noon, and night in the theatre, directing, acting, and working. So all that, I know I've spoken a lot about myself. I apologize for that, but all that was because of Bertie. He created my life, which I picked up and followed. And today, what we're doing is we are working with the disadvantaged kids in the townships, in the schools, and we've gone so far as to put them on the stage in the Shakespeare School Festival. Now, do you know what that means? To little kids that have got nothing, they've never been. In the Artscape Theatre, they performed Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, noch al. We turned it on its head. I think Shakespeare's still like revolting against what we did, but they were amazing. And we're doing something again this year. And that's again, I'm telling you, without Bertie, none of this would have happened. I would have still been a little secretary somewhere, whatever. So he's done something, and I know his heart was always with the disadvantaged, anti-apartheid. I think he would be blown away if he knew what's happening now. And I'm not the only one, plenty of people. We are now giving back what Bertie gave us. And I don't know if I've said enough. I don't know if there's anything.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful, Celia. I mean, I'm learning myself all the details. I'm picturing, the Masque burning. I'm picturing you as the rat on the stage. All these things, these visions. And I think you've definitely created a picture of, what the arts were and what Bertie, what type of person he was to do that in a world where he's the pioneer. And he was a pioneer in doing that. And I can't imagine what that involved. I definitely would love to hear either one of his children or somebody who wants to tag on you for that. So does anyone want to speak now about that, or should we wait until the end? If anyone wants to just unmute yourself and to maybe give like another side of any of Celia's stories or what your memory of that. Does anyone want to say anything at this point? Just unmute yourself.
I'm quite happy to
Yes, Richard, I'm just going to make you a spotlight. Go for it, Richard.
Oh, I'm in the spotlight. I'm sorry about the lighting.
Don't worry about it. We can see you. We can see you, and we can see your African mamas on the wall.
Fabulous picture. Yeah.
That's along the line. I wanted to say something about my mother in the Mosque Theater. I think that without Mom, may she rest in peace, I don't think Dad would have been able to handle a lot of the stuff that went on. Mom, for hours on end, used to write on little cards. That was before the era of the computer, all the membership, when they were paid, etc. For hours and hours. More than that, Mom used to serve the tea at the interval. And she was really the strength behind my father's ability to zero in on the actual acting and the actual running of the theater from an actor's point of view. But I will tell you that I was there at the time of the fire, and it just happened to be coincidental. I'd come to South Africa to transfer the ownership of the Mosque Theater to the trust. And I just met with the accountants in Toronto, in Kent Kiro, and like before the fire, and I said to my wife Doris, "Why don't we go and take a look at the theater?" And that's when we discovered Plume of Smoke. But after the fire happened, Celia, you will remember this, we met in a room where the horses used to be kept along Main Street.
Yeah, that.
And everybody was crying and crying and crying, and I didn't quite know how to handle it. So Celia, I think it was you, suggested, why don't we go around in a circle and basically talk about our memories? When it got to me, I said, I don't quite know what to say, but I will tell you that my mother used to say to my father,
He's frozen.
Yeah. Well, we'll wait for Richard to come back. But
Bertie,
you know, in the
I
meantime,
wish that
there we
my
go.
answer was she finally got her wishes.
Oh, yes, I
And
remember.
from there we built the theater again. And today it's still going, despite the fact that we've lost the roof twice during the winter, despite the fact that we were faced with closing the theater. And if anybody wants to donate funds to the theater, it would be appreciated. We're still not out of the woods. You can do that on BackaBuddy. And if you don't know how to get to that, you can email me at richardstern@bell.net, or you can ask Celia how to do that. I think you know how to raise it.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you. That was great. I mean, it's just nice to hear everyone remember their own memories of what it looked like. Anyone else want to go? I see we got other people here, Dahlia, David. Anyone else want to say anything before we go on to Gerald? And Gerald wants to honor Herschel Gelbart and others. Any last ones about Bertie before we go on?
Yeah, I would like to say hello to everybody.
Shoshana, let me just make you there we go. Shoshana, add spotlight. Go for it, Shoshana.
Good morning, everybody, and my brothers and my spiritual sister, Celia.
Hi.
When I left, she took over the scrapbook, the hours of collecting stuff and pasting them in. And Celia, I still have the big scissors that my father used to use.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I was making something yesterday with them. So I also want to add to the story of how he bought it. My parents were going on vacation, and Dad had put in a minimal bid for the old bowling alley where the roof had fallen in. Anyway, he knew he wouldn't get it. And the roof had fallen in. It was so one day into his vacation, he got a telegram. There were telegrams in those days saying, the bowling alley is yours. And my uncle, who was an architect, designed the first Masque. And so that's just a little background. So Celia, you were on stage a lot. I was on stage once. My father put me into the role of a maid, and I was a total failure, and I got stage struck. I couldn't say the words. I was much better at selling chocolate. And for years was very proud of selling chocolates and probably eating too many. Anyway, it's lovely to see you, lovely to see all of you. And I will sign out.
Thank you, Shoshana. Thank you.
Shoshana.
Great. Well, we're going to go now to Gerald. Gerald, you can continue from here, and I'm just going to put the spotlight on you again and remove it from everybody else. And again, you know, at the end, maybe after you're speaking, we'll go back to if anyone wants to say anything about anyone, go for it. So, Gerald, you're up.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just want to know, do I go in as a lead in from the Masque or something completely different?
Whatever you want. You choose whatever you wish.
Okay, just to finish so I can get the Masque out of my system. All I know, I can't remember if it was before the fire or after the fire.
No, just unmute yourself. Sorry, Celia. Just unmute yourself. You can't unmute.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. Start again, Gerald.
Touch this.
Okay. So where was I? I don't know if it was before the fire or after the fire. I knew that they were using wooden chairs that from the school as the seats. So I don't know what was that before or after?
Before the fire.
Before the fire. Okay. And then after the fire?
But even before the fire, we got rid of the seats. You helped us, so you can continue.
Yeah, okay.
Before.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I was in Rondebosch, and the Metro Theatre was upstairs, and I used to just tell the guys, Philip and Selwyn, I can't sit here talking with you guys. I'm going to go. It's raining. Varsity's on holiday. The school's on holiday. I'm going to go and watch a movie. And I think, they just put a can in the whole movie, whether there's 10 people in the cinema or only one. And I was the only one. And I said to the manager, I saw that they were selling all their chairs, the seats at the Metro. And I said to Celia, why don't you guys go and talk to them? At least you can have decent seats in the cinema, in your theatre. And I mean, just by that, me going to see a good Western, all on my own, turned out to be the decent seating at the theatre. So I don't know if you want to pick it up, how you sold it. Or who did
well, we just sort of said we want them. We had not a cent. And we said, we'll pay you off. And they said, yes. I remember it was 18,000 Rand. You know that I can still remember that amount, eh? 18,000 Rand. And basically what we did was we sold the seats to patrons of the mosque. I think they were about 100 Rand each, and we sold them over and over and over to many more people than could sit on them. And we paid for the seats. And for many years, they were real. I always used to say they're real cinema seats. They flip up and they're not wooden chairs anymore. So that was thanks to
no, thank you. Thank you. Anyway, just to sort of steer away from the theatrics, because it sort of makes me kind of ibbledik. Anyway, Mervyn Rosenberg, I mean, as you say, he's also an icon in Musenburg and in the shul and all that type of thing, and on the beach. Anyway, so Mervyn said to me that his family hold the record of being the oldest generation of being shul members. I have to concede. I don't know, Mervyn, was it 4 generations? No?
I think he's muted. I think maybe.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. It goes back to my grandmother. It goes back to before when the shul was started, the family, and it also involves the Dutch family. Through that, on my mother's side, when on my grandmother's side and everything like that, when they came out. But this is what Frieda Shapiro told me, because we've always continued membership. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But the late Frieda told me that.
Okay, well, let's concede, and we give you that.
But there's something else, because you go back to Selwyn and Harry and all of that as well.
Yes. No. So that even if it's whichever way, we share the same. Let's put it that way. So
absolutely.
I can also say, from my family point of view, I mean, my father got married in the shul. All my boys had their bar mitzvahs in the shul. I had my bar mitzvahs in the shul, and my son Elaine got married in the shul. So, just for me to follow your thing, I think it's fantastic that we got that sort of lineage to sort of go through. Excuse me. So thanks for that. And just to bring Herschel into it, because Herschel has got more Musenburg in Musenburg than Musenburg has in Musenburg. And what was phenomenal about Herschel was, you don't mind me going from one to the other, because I think
please go for it.
Okay. Herschel sort of would sort of, he was very ebullient. He would sort of present himself in all ways. And what he used to do, when he used to come to the shul, he used to go into the little lobby, and he, almost by invitation, he had his little tuning fork, and he would by invitation say, okay, you can sing, you can sing, you can sing. And they would go onto the bimmer and they would tell Farrell that this is the choir. We got the choir now. Farrell would they would do what Farrell would wouldn't know what was going on. So Farrell would just read off Las Manazé, and Herschel would say, no, Las Manazé, Las Manazé, and he would go on and on, and eventually he had the one little kid had a fantastic voice, and when he said to the little kid, when it was Las Manazé, he hit the top note. It was fantastic, really fantastic.
And the tuning.
Yeah, well, that's what I said. Yeah, the tuning.
Oh, you
yeah,
said
yeah.
right.
So whenever the opportunity arose, the choir was Herschel's baby, and when the Rabbi Rockman had to do his address, he would go from the pulpit, and obviously the choir had to go off the bimmer and went outside. So as Rockman would walk from his pulpit up into the bimmer, and obviously the kids all over the shul, Rocky, Rocky, Rocky. So by the time he got onto the bimmer, there was just a few people, and we knew outside, when we were all standing outside, that Rockman's speech would be exactly 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever, because he would talk about Yugoslavia again. And we knew exactly when they had to call the choir back in. And meanwhile, Herschel had his red little MG standing outside the shul, because it was a beautiful day. It was a picture perfect day, no wind, nothing. And he was going to go for a drive all along the coast with his friend. And that big sort of red MG, open MG, right outside the shul. Meanwhile, his wife, Pam Gelbart, you can't take the Pam out of Pam, and you can't take the Herschel out of Herschel. So she drove up the road, did a U-turn, and drove down, and she shouts at Herschel through the open window, as only Pam could do. She says, Herschel, stop showing off, pull in your stomach. And that was everybody burst out laughing, and obviously Herschel loved that type of thing. So that was Herschel. So anyway, I must think of something else about Herschel. But the thing is, just to give you another angle, there was also Selwyn Meyer's era. It was almost like an era. They come in stages. When I was born, Selwyn was 9 years old. So he was an uncle at the age of 9. So my granny gave him a shilling to buy whatever he wanted to say. Ran down Melrose Road shouting, I'm an uncle, I'm not going to school. Since that day, he's never had a day when he didn't have a smile on his face. He had people hanging on every word that he said. He would sort of, and he was a brilliant, talented, magnificent sportsman. Whatever he touched, whether it was a cricket bat, whether it was a tennis racket, whether it was athletics, played for Western Province. He was, when he went to Newlands, he had, in those days, the 20,000 people used to come to the ordinary club games, and he was like, he had the crowd behind him. He was like, he had a personality that you could hang on every word. And he would go to my dad when he was traveling, and he would go to my dad and he would say to my dad, Selwyn, do you want a beer? And so Selwyn says, yes, Ollie, I'll have a beer. So my dad goes to him, and he's got a tin of a Lion Castle beer. Sorry, that's not touches. Okay. So anyway, so my dad gives Selwyn the beer, and Selwyn looks at the beer and he holds it upside down, and it's all rusted at the bottom. He says, Solly, who gave you this thing? Charles Glass. So my father says, who's Charles Glass? You see? So he said that Charles Glass found the castle log. Anyway, so who's Charles Glass? So Selwyn obviously keeps talking like that. So Selwyn says to him, Solly, are you with me? So my dad was just saying, where can I go? I'm with you. You know what I mean? So they're talking two different languages altogether. So anyway, when he left, you know, my mom always used to be in the kitchen. And my mom was a lady. She was like almost Shakespearean. She was, you know, always in the kitchen. And when someone comes in, when he left, he says goodbye to her. And my father comes to her and he says, he gives me a headache. I can't. He's wild. But meanwhile, he loved every moment of it. It was really, really fantastic. And wherever he went, he just drew people around him. They were acting. They were almost couldn't hang on every word that he said. And obviously, with his sales and everything, he had a heart of gold. So he was really, really. I must say that Soul and Myers era was something that was so special. And obviously, being my uncle at the age of 9 is also something special. Okay, well, I don't know if we can add anything to those things. Yeah, okay, then I'll take Mervyn. Mervyn, just like Mervyn was a luminary, you know, I don't want to use words now, that's obviously got to be theatrical and got to be in keeping with this discussion. When we went down to the beach, as I said earlier, you know, this was like living in paradise and school being, just living there all the time. Whenever you went down to the beach, whether it was touch rugby, whether it was beach bats or whether it was just going for a swim or whatever the occasion is, the Mervyn used to sort of say, okay, clear the beach, we're going to play bok bok. Now, the word bok bok, we looked it up on Google, etc., just to try and get more clarity on it. It's actually a Mashugana thing, but anyway, but on the beach it's fine. So it clears the beach, and what it means is you've got to get somebody standing up. If you can use a rugby forward as an example, somebody's got to stand up against the box, and everybody would sort of line up like a scrum, and you get guys running, and they would jump on these players and see how long they could stand up, and they would fall, would collapse. Now, there was a guy called Gus Levine. When we were at school, he was the beach. He had center court on the beach. He played beach bats there. He had rallies forever. So we asked him if he could be the cushion. And to be the cushion means you've got to stand with your back up against the beach box. And every time somebody jumped in, it would actually knock the guts out of you, because it's you almost like scrumming up against him. And I thought, I'm not. You can get the guys like Mervyn and all those can go in the front row, but and Roger Kay and the Lunga Loxers can be locks, and the flankers, the loose players, I can be loose. But anyway, so I would go last, because then I can jump up on 80 kilograms, whatever I must, they'll collapse or whatever. And I look back and I see Ezra Caston coming. Now I knew Ezra Caston isn't exactly a springbok, but anyway, he's coming along. And as he gets to me, I just go, my toch is a lift, and he went flying into the sand. Now, if it wasn't on the beach, if it was on hard rocks, I mean, it's finished. But anyway, those little things. And then when I jumped, I would land right on top of wherever the heavy, and obviously they would collapse. But anyway, that bok bok, and the way Mervyn would say, clear the beach and get all these things, it was like absolutely amazing.
Why did they say bok bok? Staan steeds vir hoeveel vingers op my lyf?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want to know why? Hoeveel vingers op my lyf?
Yeah, oh yes, then you had to sort of, obviously only you got 5 fingers, you've got to ask that question, hoeveel fingers on my, how many fingers, and if they guess correctly, then they swap around and the other crowd go. But if they're wrong, then they have to do all that. We jump on their backs. It's actually a Mashugana, but anyway.
Gerald, while I'm talking to you, I wanted to know that I have with me here in Israel, in my bedroom next to me, I have Selma Shapiro, whose family are Bessie Myers. And when you mentioned your mother, she said, "Oh, what a
Sorry,
lovely
but talk into the mic a little bit, so it's hard to hear you.
Sorry.
Go a little bit closer to your friend. There we go. Yeah.
Sorry. I tried to turn so that you could see Thelma. Thelma Shapiro is with me. She's my neighbor. She used to work at Herzliya School. Everybody knew her. And she was family of Bessie Myers.
Oh, amazing, huh?
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yes.
You know Bessie Myers?
Yeah.
Do you remember
Bessie Myers.
No, not really.
No.
Thelma, what is your name? Dorfin. Thelma Dorfin.
Dorfin.
No.
Oh, shame, Thelma.
So she remembers with great fondness your mother and your grandmother.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
We used to call her the Kremlin. It's amazing because, obviously being from Russia, this is the way it's got to be, type of thing. It's amazing. So that no, I don't know. But as far as the book and all that was concerned, I mean, you were there. You obviously saw that happening at times, didn't you, Brenda? Or not?
She's nodding her head.
Oh, nodding. Yeah. Okay.
I watched you and Leslie play beach bats, and the rallies would go on for ages and ages and ages. You were both such good players. You remember my husband Leslie, who was born on the 23rd of October?
Yeah. Let me tell you something.
Birthday with you.
He had the exact same date, and let me tell you something. His beach bats were top notch. Obviously, completely different style. You know what I mean? He had quite a lot of power in it, type of thing. So I had to move around quite a bit, but it was.
I remember too. It was amazing. Yeah.
And to have rallies like that, and then obviously my beach bats were special because I drew a little cartoon on my beach bats of Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck, and I painted it in and used some paint and had the outlines. Each beach bat had one of the cartoon characters on the two beach bats that I had. And Aubrey Schneider, Jeffrey Schneider. He asked me if he can borrow the beach bats. Anyway, I said, borrow the beach bats, and he came back and he said to me that the beach bat fell onto the pavilion cement, and it broke, type of thing. I'm telling you. So I said, is it the Mickey Mouse one or the Donald Duck? So I said, no, it's the Mickey Mouse one. I said, well, that's not so bad, as long as it's not Donald Duck. but it's just those little things that it's almost like a person hasn't got a care in the world. You can go down, as I said earlier, and play all those things, go for a swim when you want to do whatever you want to do. And when somebody breaks something and is honest enough to actually give it back and say, it's sort of, to me, that shows character. That was terrific. Okay, so then
I think David Lazarus, do you want to say something? I think you had your hand up.
Oh yes,
I'm going to just unmute yourself, David. There we go.
Hello.
Yeah, I wasn't going to exclude
I hope you came in live. Please put up a thumb. I still have an audio problem. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay, I just want to say, obviously, I'm very upset that Gerald's made no reference to my beach bats playing, because every time I came down there, I'd go straight to Rustenburg Pharmacy and say, Gerald, come on, we've got to get together and go and have a game. Having said that, I just want to thank Celia and Gerald for their recollections. And of course, it was primarily based on the famous Stern family. It's so fabulous to have Richard, Peter, and Jean sitting there actually participating and watching. Jean, I've asked you for your email address. I've sent you mine in a direct chat, so please come back to me. But I think we have to also pay credit in the recollections to Gerald and Celia themselves, because Gerald has played such an incredible role. I mean, Celia's spoken about the Masque, and we know what a macher she's been over there in Musenburg with the Masque and the culture and keeping the wheels turning. It's been fantastic. But on her right, as she's sitting there facing us, is this guy, Gerald, who, apart from very quietly running the Rustenburg Pharmacy, has really turned Musenburg around, so much so that I believe from all the little birds that I hear around me that Musenburg's picking up very, very nicely. And Ryan, I don't know if it was you who was saying that you hear that more and more people are coming back for the holiday season to Musenburg. Gerald, you've done a fantastic job down there. You deserve medal after medal for what you've done for our fabulous shtetl by the sea. And mazel tov and kol hakavod. Keep going with the recollections, and for all those people who are applauding what I'm saying, it's all for you, but our hearts are right behind you. You've done a fantastic job. Thanks, Ryan.
This makes sense.
Thank you. What I want to sort of just add to that, or sort of put it into context, is that Musenburg almost was. It went through such up and down. It was almost like a swear word, and now it's almost like the place to be. I mean, it's sort of just gone for, that's sort of, and to sort of have that up and down thing, it sort of makes it so much now. Nowadays, you can't have they can't even get parking on the beachfront. You can't. The traffic is all the way down Prince George Drive, Main Road. You just can't get in, and that is just to get to Musenburg. It's almost like unbelievable. So it's been through its bad times and good times, and I think just by being in the pharmacy and getting the people that pop in from time to time was almost like and I wouldn't say a gathering. People would just come in just to say hello, and I hadn't seen them for years. And obviously things have changed now. Pharmacy's corporate. I'm not there anymore, type of thing. But I'm here with you guys, so I suppose that makes it
Special.
Yeah. Okay. And obviously there's so many little stories that one can tell that happens in the pharmacy that it's one can go on forever just using the pharmacy as a topic, because I was there for 22 years type of thing, and it's and the things what I did sort of get after a while.
He had his own pharmacy called Rustenburg Pharmacy in Musenburg.
But we could hear you speaking. But I just want to say, most of us on screen, you see, most of us on screen have left Musenburg, either overseas or we're in Sea Point. But Celia, you and Gerald represent continuity.
Yeah.
You guys have stayed there and sat it out and done this turnaround. And for all of us who come back to Musenburg occasionally, whether it's a drive around Signal Hill or whether it's from Israel or where else, we head straight there to Rustenburg Pharmacy. I don't know if you're still active there, because on the last few occasions you haven't.
As I said, become corporate. But what has happened over the years that I was there, and with it, as I said, 20 odd years, and even from you develop a sort of almost like a chutzpah. And if you've got a chutzpah, then one does things that one wouldn't normally do. As an example, when I was in Musenburg, I saw a big stretch limo arrive, park on the front, and bodyguards getting out, and a guy getting out in his suit and everything. And I knew that was Peter Hein, the anti-apartheid. I knew he was in South Africa, in Cape Town. He stood there on the beachfront, and he was looking at the calm water, the water. The scenery was just mesmerizing. So I told one of my staff to go and said he's got to sign our this is what I talk about. He's got to sign our book, which is to say that he's been here. So our staff member comes back and says that I must bring the book to him. No, I said, no, he's got to come in. It doesn't count if he's there. He's got to actually come into the pharmacy and sign it there and there. So anyway, eventually he comes in, and it's amazing when you take away the veneer. He's a normal person like you and me, and etc. He signs the book, and he looks and he sees that he's in the company of people like Dani Gerald, Naas Botha, Annelien Kriel. In other words, he's in good company, and suddenly he starts looking through the book and everything, and then he gave a fantastic, nice message. Shaka Zulu came in, and all those guys come in, and you meet them without the veneer. It's absolutely.
We still got those books, about 10 of them.
Yeah, and you look through those books and you see the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's some names there that you don't put down. You wouldn't mention it, but then obviously they're newsmakers. So and then just getting back to Herschel's nephew. Geordie Chait, Chait it is. Him and Kevin went to the Maccabi games, and they won.
Who's Kevin?
Kevin's my son. Sorry, Kevin's my son, and the younger son, and he's a rugby coach. And so they went to Israel, and they were in the Maccabi games, and they won a gold medal. And since then, Herschel was always telling me about Geordie and how's Kevin doing, etc., etc. Now Kevin's coached, and they've got it with the rugby's changed so much now that they've got a team called Tel Aviv Heat. Tel Aviv Heat. And that team played in Moscow, the 4 degrees centigrade. They played in Moscow. They played against the team there. Then they went to Georgia, and at the moment Kevin's taken the Israeli national team to Malta, and then he comes back, and then they start going with their campaign again. So with him, they've developed such a unity. Kevin being the coach, and Herschel's little Geordie he's such a talented player. He takes all the kicks for posts, etc. And he's brilliant. He's brilliant. He's got just a tactical brain. It's almost like having the Selma Myers era all over again. It's so just all these things. It just goes like amazing. So,
I met him, Herschel. I met him in Joburg. What a lovely guy. So lovely. Cheeky face. Lovely guy.
Jordan, can I speak? Is it all right?
Yes, please.
Firstly, the previous speaker mentioned about Celia, Gerald. Without these two guys, I think half of the people in Musenburg would have left. Because if you get down, whenever I would come there every year, I've been out of the country 30 years. And when I would arrive back, the first thing I would do is go into the pharmacy. And I'd shout, I'm here, everybody. You're going to make a lot of money. Turnover's going up. The turnover used to go up when we arrived because Pam would order, I don't know how many things. They were the concrete center of Musenburg as far as I was concerned. The other one, of course, was the shul. But without these two guys, Kola Kavod, they were there. Everybody would aim straight for the Rustenburg pharmacy and find out what's going on. Gerald would be busy with the development of the beachfront. He would be busy with all kinds of things in the background. And I don't think a lot of people knew a lot of the things that these two achieved that kept Musenburg going. And a lot of people deserted Musenburg, like some members of my family who live in Sea Point. They would laugh at me and say, get rid of your bloody apartment at Balmoral. I said, never. It's like Buckingham Palace. And every time I said it, it would upset them more and more and more. I said, you're missing out on the best Luft. You're missing out on just the most beautiful place. And today I'm hearing stories. Due to COVID, we couldn't come out, guys, as you can imagine. And we're champing at the bit here to get back to Musenburg. They just painted the building. Have you seen that?
Yes.
They're busy painting the building. So we're there to stay till the end of time. My early morning swims with the sharks. Pam feels I'm going to get taken by one of these sharks one of these days, but my stomach is so big that I don't think a great white is going to get follow me up.
Yeah, it's amazing when Herschel comes into the pharmacy, stands in the front at the front door. Yeah, you know, and it doesn't matter who's in the pharmacy. If it's
doesn't matter who.
It doesn't matter. He would just he's got such a presence, and then he would say, "Listen, Pam wants me to do this. Pam wants me to do this. I'm coming here now. They want me. They phone me from Claremont Shul. They want me to do mincha." Then he says, meanwhile, he loses himself and all the things that he's doing that he doesn't know what he came in for in the first place. I mean, that was Herschel all the way. And I know I'm jumping from one to the other, but I was having a cup of coffee with a friend of mine many years ago. I think it was 1987, I'll tell you exactly. And I was sitting in there having a cup of coffee, and Mendel Kaplan was at the table, a few things. He said, when you finish talking, I want to have a talk with you. So I was sitting there, so my friend said, "Oh, no, he's going anyway." So I went to sit with Mendel, and I said to him, "Talk." So he says to me, "Do I know that he lives in St. James, Diana is the name of his house?" I said, "Yeah, no, because we send you medicines, etc., etc. And I know you will come to Musenburg every day." So he says, "But I don't want to walk along the main road anymore. What I want to do, I want to have a walk that's between the railway line and then the beach. So it's all rocks and everything there. So I said, no, well, fine. So he says, but the thing is, I can't do that on my own. I want you to I said, but you can see this, we've got the Empire little cafe, and that's all Musenburg is. So I says, no, but it must be more than that. I'll do it rand for rand. For every 1 rand you do, I'll do it. So I said, but to build a walk like that is not going to, is going to take 30 years type of thing. So he says, no, we'll get to it. So, and the thing is, by giving me a challenge like that, with the False Bay Tourism, what we did is we put it out that any donation they'll get a plaque and they have their name on it. They gave them whether Rustenburg Pharmacy or whatever the person's name is. And if they want a bench on the walk, they can have that bench like a memorial bench. So that we got 40 benches on the walkway, which has been put there. And at the moment, obviously that bench becomes like a memorial bench. But the thing is, the upkeep of that and the tide and all that other thing. So by doing that, we actually raised, and then with the council, they came in with a small percentage, like 20% or whatever, because it was a community-based improving the area. And we won the mayor's award, and they put in, because they did all the construction work, etc., etc. That was the council, which was about nothing in money, but obviously because it was a project that was done to enhance the area. And the mayor's award, I don't know if you got the wording. You haven't got the wording. So that alone. So obviously the Mendel got what he wanted, and I mean, that walked for him to go and come for a swim and go into Danger Beach, and depending on what the weather's, what the tide's like, it's exactly what he wanted. I mean, it's a fantastic chap. I mean, he was like.
It was also Gerald. He wanted to walk to shul on Friday nights on Shabbat.
So I came along there, correct?
Yeah. Amazing, absolutely amazing. He was something.
He was a fantastic man.
Yeah.
Herschel, while we're talking about shul and Mendel Kaplan, who I know was also fond of the shul, Herschel, just you as the choir master, etc. Do you have any stories that you want to share about those days of the shul, etc., etc.? Anything stand out?
It's so many. I can't do it all today. But just one of the thing is, when we came there we called it the season. Okay, the season, you played the season. It's like the theater. The season was from mid-December to mid-January. And we played the season, the choir, because everybody arrived from Johannesburg. We were from Durban, and I don't know, some people were from other places. But the thing was, you had to have a test before you could get into the choir.
That was fantastic. Yeah, you had
your
own.
The test was behind the boxes on the beach. There was a guy called Bulker who was a surgeon. Famous pediatrician surgeon or something. He had the most beautiful voice, and he was the most musical. They came from one of the top choirs. We had Sydenham Highlands choirs. We had guys from all the top shuls in Joburg. But they used to test you before you could join that choir. And they'd give you a Friday night tune, and you'd have to sing it. And they'd say, okay, you passed, you're in. And then we get on the bimmer, and the chazan would say, we're going to start now. And we'd say, what you're going to sing for the Chadodi, or what song are we going to sing, for this? And the guy would say, just follow me, just follow me. There was never a rehearsal. The rehearsal that we had was non-existent, except in a little room outside. 1, 2, 3, chick, chuck, chick. And the choir was actually quite fantastic. If Gerald will tell you, the roof used to come off. The roof used to come off on a Friday night or Saturday morning.
Yeah, even when you did our Don Olam, you walked out there with a almost like a you jumped out.
You kept repeating the tune because it was in your head, and it was just special being involved. But I think I wrote to you, Rabbi, to tell you that, you know, my particular personal involvement in Musenburg started when I was about 2 and carried on till today. I've never stopped. I've spent most of my holidays right throughout my school career, and even when we moved to Durban, we bought the apartment at, before we bought the apartment at Balmoral, we had to rent because Balmoral was still I don't know what it was, a share scheme, I think. But we used to rent at Mrs. Schlesinger, which was wonderful. Mrs. Schlesinger's garden, we used to have an apartment there. And then we rented from Celia's mom. What was her name, Celia? She owned the Balmoral.
Cecile. I think she's here. Cecile's here. I saw her name. Hi, Cecile.
What was his mother's name? She owned the Balmoral.
Rose Shirkin.
Rose Shirkin, that's it.
Yeah. Hi, Herschel. It's Cecile.
Hi, Cecile.
I think she's not there. She is there.
Hi, Cecile.
So we used to, Mrs. Your mom was so wonderful. She had her own block of flats down the side of where the pharmacy was, Gerald.
Melrose.
Melrose. So we would then rent there for a couple of years. And then one day, we used to always walk to the end of the promenade and touch the end of the promenade. It was a custom that Pam and I started to say goodbye for the season. The season was over, sad, and we used to run to the airport to catch our flight to Durban. And this particular day, we saw a sign, flats for sale in the Balmoral. I said to Pam, it can't be. Before we catch our flight to Durban, let's go and have a look. And there we go. And there's A.B. Efron standing with a big stomach. And there was Norman Hershowitz. And he said, come on, you've got to buy here. We want to fill up this place with all the Jews. We don't want anybody else in here, just the Jews. And I think we took about 10 minutes and we bought the apartment before we caught our flight back to Durban, gave the guy a deposit. And we've had the most wonderful holidays. And my children have had the most wonderful holidays, my grandchildren. And I'm sure that Simone one day will use it with their kids. I still want to bring them to South Africa before I depart this planet, because they've heard all about Musenburg and they've never experienced the beauty of the beach and the fun that we had in those days with the boats. And they used to have putt-putts. We used to just have the best holidays with the kids. And I can never speak more highly enough. And as I said, whoever tried to speak badly of Musenburg, and there were many, I had quite a few arguments, I must tell you, in my time. And we will keep going on there as long as the Lord above will allow us.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Because we just love it there. And you two guys made it just so special. You know, it was the first contact was always going straight into us to pharmacy. What's going on? What's going on? Or Sandy, our lovely Sandy.
You know, Cecile, Kevin decided that he's going to get onto the shul committee. So he says he'll only get onto the shul committee if he can sit next to Cecile, because he thinks. No, that's what he said. I think he was on the committee there for nearly a year or less, and then they chucked him off. And meanwhile, his elder brother, Alain, was a treasurer. So he was sitting in the box with Ziggy Safa on the one side and Harold Shapiro on the other, and he was like squashed in the middle. And Kevin used to go up to him and wish them all with Shabbos or with Yontif or whatever. And Elaine would be sitting there, and he says, "Kevin, you're wearing my bath, what's it?
My legal bar tie."
Bar tie. You know, so he said, "Good Shabbos, Elaine, and good Yontif, Elaine." And he was just there. And then same thing when he was on the committee, he wants to sit next to Cecile. So eventually they threw him off the committee.
Herschel, do you remember when my mother was so ill that one year? And you
Yes.
came to visit her and she got better after you
No,
visited.
no.
I
Yeah.
remember that.
She fell down the stairs.
Whatever.
She'd fallen down the stairs, and she said, I said, come, let me give you a hug. And I gave her this hug, and from the pain, and she couldn't take it, she became better the next day, like a miracle occurred. The next day, she never felt the pain. And she attributed it to me. I said, well, I don't know, maybe it was my hug that made you better. It was a miracle, actually. She had broken ribs and everything.
But you know, I was telling Rabbi Ron, I think some time ago, that it's amazing the foresight when they built the shul. They like for Tashlich, the little river that runs past the shul, it goes right up onto the mountain.
Yeah.
So in other words, there's like a waterfall there, and it comes all. So if it's full stream and goes all the time, even if it dries up, there's always a little trickle. So when they built the shul, what's it, about 80, 100 years ago, that was the site that they chose to build the shul. And in building the shul, there were so many things that's Musenburg related type of thing. To the one thing is you take in between November, I would say from October, November, the two currents, the Indian Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean in Musenburg, in the bay, and the whales come into and you can actually stand. They come into calve in the bay, and you can actually stand on the walkway or on the beach, and within that you could almost touch the whales. And to think that when it comes to Yom Kippur, they do Maftayenu, which is obviously the Jonah. And to have all that, and they have the shul there with a waterfall and everything, and so much so that even when this is your invitation, you saw this is the shofar, this is
Let's hold it properly so they can see. Hold it back like that.
This
Seaweed,
a piece of seaweed lying there that's dried up. And Sandy said to me, "Why don't you varnish it?" I said, "No, it's a shofar." So the shofar was when they blew the shofar. It means that they're calling the people together. They must come together. So whether you stand in Musenburg and you go up on the mountain, you can blow this, and all the people will come to shul. So the only thing is my kishkas aren't what they used to be.
Kyo.
I think Mervin's been waiting patiently to say something. Mervin, go for it.
There are just two things that I want to say. The one thing is that Peter Stern was my RK Law. You guys, RK Law, we'll do our best. We'll derb, we'll dab, woof. Okay. And the other thing is that I want to say is, are you guys available on Sunday to play bok?
Yeah.
Herschel, I spoke to Philly about half an hour ago before this started.
Oh, fantastic. How's my sister?
Fantastic.
Good. Thank you. Thank you for keeping in touch and being with her. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so my other family, as you know, the other side, when they used to say, how can you stay in Musenburg? Are you crazy in your head? Why don't you come to this side? I said, I can't even, I don't want to even drive through town or drive to traffic in those days. It's crazy in Cape Town now, right? Without the season. But in the season, you just can't get to that side. But they would come across every year to visit me in Musenburg. And I said, you want to see me? You come to Musenburg. And there were those beautiful new restaurants that have opened now.
Oh, it's amazing.
It was beautiful. They used to love it. They used to say, my God, we haven't got restaurants like this in Sea Point. So things have changed, and I hope that it continues to go from strength to strength.
Yeah, no, at all, because I mean, there are 13 or 14 restaurants there, and the competition between them is so thin that the quality of their cuisine is obviously better than if it was just one isolated little restaurant here and there.
Yeah, but this COVID must have taken a terrible effect on the on the
Locals.
tourism,
The
right?
locals,
And the
yeah.
locals, yeah.
The poor locals lost out. Yeah.
Well, everybody, yeah. In America, we're going through the worst time ever in history with this being shut down. Everybody's got out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is are there any closing ideas? Want to say anything? I think Peter, if you'd like to. I see some new names here that I've never seen before. So just feel free if anyone wants to say anything about either the choir, the mosque, the Stern family. Anyone closing thoughts? Otherwise, I'm going to leave it to Celia and Gerald if they have any closing thoughts. So just if anyone has a closing thought, just please unmute yourself so I know that I can highlight you. I'm going to go just 3, 2, 1, just if there's any closing thoughts. Anyone? I know that I'm looking through the chat. Ruth Reichlin says, Celia, thank you for the reviving beautiful memories of Musenburg. Some people asked for the recording. There will be a recording. And other than that, anyone want to finish off any closing thoughts? Otherwise, I'm going to leave it to Celia and Gerald.
I've got one thing more to say.
Okay,
I've omitted to say the Ladies Guild of Musenburg is one of the best in the world. One of the best in the world. I've been attending the brochas since 50, 60 years, and it's very hard to find a brocha like you get in Musenburg. Kol hakavod to Cecilia and your friends, all of them. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Herschel. And we look forward to you seeing you in good health.
Herschel, it's Cecile. Send my love to Pam.
I certainly will. She is.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Love to everybody there, eh?
Okay. I'm going to send a recording to Muriel.
Brian,
Yeah.
I'm not sure that people will remember, or they were.
Who's talking? Is this Richard?
Richard, yeah.
Okay.
Many of my memories, and Peter too, I'm sure, were during the war years. I don't know whether any of you remember all the sailors and soldiers that came through Musenburg during the war. We used to sit on the wall of Gelbart, which is the house that we lived in, right opposite Arlington Court, in case you don't know. And we used to invite people in, and my mother used to say, "That's enough. You've invited 10 people for dinner. No more. I don't have enough food." And the trappers, and the I can't remember their names, but the vegetable store opposite Elliot the butcher. But a lot of my memories are the war years, because my father was away. Our father was away, should I say? And they were very. We used to parade in little army uniforms, Peter and myself. I have pictures of us. But we also had blackouts. I don't know whether any of you remember the blackouts.
We're having them now.
Well, I'm talking about blackouts on the windows.
I know, I'm teasing.
Musenburg was, very much in the war effort. My grandparents, my grandmother, Lily Sonnenberg, was the head of the South African Women's Auxiliary Services that provided things. We used to take the soldiers, the wounded soldiers, that passed through Cape Town or through Simonstown. We used to take them out to my grandfather's farm, which is called Dimmersfontein, which is now a winery. And they couldn't get over the fact that there was cream and sugar, flour, and all the things that they hadn't seen in 5 or 10, 4 or 5 years of the warfront. So Musenburg has a very special place in my memory, and I'm sure some of the others have stories to tell. There's this one naughty story that we used to have, was the sailors used to, and you'll forgive me, Orion, for bringing this up, the sailors used to find some of the non-European girls who were selling their wares, so to say, and they used to do it under the pavilion. And we naughty boys used to have battery connected to a flashlight. And we beam this flashlight on them, and they take off after us, wanting to kill us. How we lived through those years, I have no idea. Police used to come for the Stern boys quite often. as we did naughty things that today would be probably punished with life imprisonment. So Musenburg was, we went to the Musenburg School, which is now the Peace Station, I believe, up on the hill.
Yes.
And we'd ride our bicycles home. It was such an uncomplicated life. Surfing, you'd have to be home by 6, otherwise we wouldn't get supper. So the clock tower on Musenburg Station was the timing, the way we ruled our lives. It was what time was it on that clock. And I could go on and on about our I say history, our lives in Musenburg. Say that it was idyllic was an understatement. Wow. I haven't been back there for many years because of COVID and other factors. But going on 85 years old in January, it's amazing that you can still remember all that stuff. But I'll end it there just to let you all know that I think Musenburg was very privileged and still remain privileged.
Yeah.
Thank you. Celia and Gerald, do you want to finish up with any closing thoughts or anything like that? Otherwise, we'll end it there.
I'll make you laugh. Would you want to go first?
No, I just wanted to say I thought we're just opening now. No, thank you very much, Rabbi Ryan, for organizing this and for all the ones that you've had in the past for us to catch up, those that haven't done so. And you've done an amazing thing because you're so sort of with the surfing and there's no airs and graces about you. You sort of, I must sort of, I don't know if it's been said to you before, but there's something special about you as well.
Yeah.
That I think needs to be recorded.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not going to finish with the funny story because that is more important.
No, finish with the funny story.
Well, it's to do with Batya, so
finish with the funny story.
With the funny story. I know Batya loves me, and I hope when I tell the story, she still will love me. We were in a show at the Musenburg High School. It was a Mexican comedy. Okay, we spoke in English, but with an accent. And Gerald had organized the show. There were 900, again, with the 900 people in the audience at Musenburg High. And he had a whole lot of unknown leading into, what do you call them? I can't think of the word. The acts that preceded the main act, supporting act. He had a lot of those people who today are really well known. One of them is David Kramer. He sang for one of the first times in that concert. Anyway, we had a little Mexican play, and because we were the headline act, we were last. We went on stage, I'm sure you remember, but at about 11:45 at night. Do you remember that? And one of our cast members was getting more and more ungeschnusselt. She was drinking wine after, because she was bored, sitting in the dressing room at a school. By the time we went on, this girl didn't know who she was, what she was saying was terrible. And as an actress, it's scary because we don't know what's going to happen next. Anyway, Batya and I were falling asleep. We were so tired, and we had a little scene where she actually jumps into my arms. It's a comedy, and I held her. So she did that, and the girl that was drunk couldn't remember her line. So she just stood there, drooling. So I said to Batya, and Batya had the next line, actually. It was Batya who couldn't remember her line. That's correct. And Batya looks at me, and I say, what are we going to do? Which was her line. So she says, I don't know what we're going to do. What are we going to do? I said, it's your line. And I've never forgotten, neither of us have forgotten that. That's my story. But with Batya there, I had to tell her.
What are we going to do, Tanya?
No, Tanya. So that's mine. Thank you so much, Ron. I enjoyed it. I hope everybody else did. And I apologize if I spoke a lot about myself, but I didn't know how else to bring it all together. So thank you.
No need to apologize. You were both wonderful. Everyone who spoke was wonderful. And I think whoever was here just could feel, what it was all about. There were moments today that I had like tears in my eyes as well. I don't know why. There was nothing particularly sad, but it was more out of joy, just thinking of other people in their lives. So thank you for that. Thank you, everybody. It will be put onto YouTube. It will be sent out. Ask people around. It will be on the Musenburg Facebook page, as well as the Musenburg YouTube channel. It's called Musie's Show. And if you can't find those, then please ask someone here and you will be able to find that recording. Thanks, everyone, especially those in the United States.
Thanks, everyone.
We got up
Thank you.
very early.
Bye, guys.
And those, if anyone's late at night, well done as well. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Keep well, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye,
Celia.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
Gerald.
See
for a
you all.
wonderful talk.
Nice to see you guys.
Celia, bye, Gerald.
Bye. See you next week.
Okay. Yeah.
You cut out, yeah.
Bye.
you.
Thanks. It
Bye.
was terrific, Celia and Gerald. Lovely. Absolutely lovely.
Stay well.
Oh, thank you, Alison.
Yeah, fantastic. This was
Bye.
okay,
Nice
bye.
to see you. Hey, bye-bye.
Yeah, great. Bye.
Bye.